Everyone, if you're not speaking, just know that you're being recorded. So
perfect. Sounds great. Thank you so much, Wendy.
Okay, perfect. All right, we're ready to go, right? All right. Hi, Ms. Gallegos. Okay, so I'm Gabriel Buelna, board president of president of the board of trustees of the Los Angeles Community College District. So just so everyone knows, this ad hoc committee meeting is being recorded, and probably within about a day or two, it will be on our YouTube YouTube channel for everyone to share and to share. But that being said, I did want to take the opportunity to thank everyone for being part of this ad hoc committee. And as the board president, second vice president Henderson and Steve Vettis are also part of the committee. Trustee Vettis will be on the Zoom call at some point during this meeting. We do have an agenda, and that agenda is we're going to have a quick, not a quick welcome, but a welcome. Then we're going to have a presentation by Vice Chancellor Coroner with regard to data on non-English speakers. Then we're going to discuss some program highlights. We have Ms. Gallegos is here, President Roman, and anyone else that wants to share about what is occurring here. We're going to ask some questions. Is this good? What is possible, right? Then we're going to have some community voices. Jocelyn Duarte, Jorge Enrique Perez, from the School of Science, Economics, and Business from the Universidad Panamericana in Mexico. Javier Martinez, political scientist, Oxford, resident Los Angeles. Dulce Vasquez from Arizona State University is going to be present as well. We're going to have a discussion on needs of monolingual communities and proposed meetings and action items. So again, as in looking at, and Vice Chancellor Coroner, so in terms of its strategic perspective, the committee is coming together from looking at how do we look at all of the Los Angeles Community College District, all, meaning monolingual, gender, ethnicity, disability, everyone within the district, and saying, how do we make the district as inviting as possible, because we know that higher education is the gateway. And without the 9 colleges of the community of our region would not be doing as well. And we are an engine of that district. So in that being said, Vice Chancellor Coroner is going to go over some statistics, and I'm going to put them out there, and he'll probably correct me. More than approximately 24 to 27% of our region, close to around 2 million folks, have an issue or speak less than good English, which means that their ability to take higher education classes in English is limited. So it's looking at the lens of how or can we, or if or should we, make part of our curriculum available in languages other than English, in order to make sure that as folks are learning English and are going through a process, that concurrently they can learn in languages, and make sure that we increase incomes, because skills will increase. So we're looking at this from a workforce perspective, and improve our entire community. So, from that kind of mission statement, are we here today? So again, the committee is called the Board Ad Hoc Committee for the Immediate Action on Teaching and Learning Barriers for Non-English Speaking Monolingual Communities for Equal Access and Representation. Now, Vice Chancellor Coroner, will say, Trustee Buelna, you always tell me to send shorter slides and keep things simple. But we kept this title of this Board Ad Hoc Committee long, in order to very clearly understand what our mission is, and to report to the board, and to have a conversation with the District Academic Senate, have a conversation with all stakeholders to say, how do we go about, or if we go ahead and do this. As part of the process, we are opening up a poll, and Sui, let me know when the poll is ready. and we want you to fill out that poll. Those results at the end will be shared at the board meeting that's coming up on April 13th. So as part of this process, we need you to participate in that poll. So the poll is very, very important, and especially as we do the studying process. So and finally, because our goal is for every speaker not to take long, but to be able to be as concise as possible. So looking at the issue of language, understanding place is very important. You know, my background is I'm a political scientist. I teach political science and Chicano studies, and I'm an attorney. So to understand that language, especially in a region in the state called California, in the city called Los Angeles, the issue of language does not come without significant amount of political, racial, and ethnic backgrounds, and just to be polite. But so it comes at a backdrop of Proposition 227 and the concept of English only. Again, looking at English only movements since the founding of the state is important in understanding why they're tied to English. And again, no one is saying that no one should be learning English. The idea is, how do we increase skills in order for skill development to occur? But how do we make a change in order to increase access to education, and that those that are non-English speaking students be considered as part of the concept of the entire all at LACCD and all community colleges and institutions of higher education. So as much as this is an important concept within LACCD, we are encouraging a broader conversation about bringing non-English speakers into higher education and make sure that they're not in the shadows with regard to education and a complete partner within higher education. So again, please go to the poll. Sui, how will they access the poll here? I'm looking at my screen here.
I'm going to launch it right now.
Okay, so if you could please launch it. We, again, students, community, faculty, administrators, staff, you have lots of options. We want your opinion. So right now there's 48 people who are here. Your opinion is very important. It's going to, your comments are going to help guide the narrative on this on this subject. So I just want to again encourage you to participate in the poll. And that being said, we're going to go to Chancellor Rodriguez, then we're going to go Trustee Henderson, then we're going to go to Ryan Coroner, and down the line. And everyone, again, please be concise with your comments, as we have a lot of folks on here. We're scheduled to go an hour and a half. Some folks may drop off, and we're going to go a little long today. But at the next meeting, we're likely going to go only 60 minutes. So make sure everyone is concise as possible. Chancellor Rodriguez, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Bolna. And we want to start this a todos, compañeros, friends of LACCD. It's wonderful to see everyone. Good afternoon. My comments will be incredibly brief. I simply wanted to extend a welcome to all who are here, to the many voices who will participate on this very important ad hoc committee, in which the district is looking to better serve the constituencies that support our public institution known as the Los Angeles Community College District. Dr. Bolna put it very openly and clearly. How is it that we can best serve who we know are the tens of thousands of monolingual, non-English speaking persons in the Los Angeles region? So today is a beginning conversation for which we will begin this very important examination of the needs and ultimately recommendations and then action. The nature of an ad hoc committee of the board is that it's time sensitive. That is that it's time certain. It will usually lead to a set of recommendations that will be presented to the full board for the administration to act on. That's where I come in consultation with our colleagues throughout the district. I'm very pleased that many of the college presidents of the LACCD 9 are here, administrators, faculty, members of our shared governance groups, unions, all participating, community groups in this very important conversation. So let me simply extend una gran bienvenida to you all, and thank you again for your participation. It's a very important task for LACCD. Bienvenidos.
Trustee Henderson.
Thank you so much, President Buelna. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nichelle Henderson, second Vice President of the Board of Trustees. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon for this truly vital introductory discussion on the barriers to non-English speaking monolingual community members. I am an educator, and I truly believe that if our district is to effectively engage and address the needs of our present and our future students, we must consider the manner in which we communicate and provide our services to our monolingual community. So, you know, again, thank you all for being here. This is a invaluable conversation. Please complete the poll so that we have information to take back to the board. And welcome. I look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vice Chancellor Corner.
So good afternoon, everyone. With your indulgence, I'm going to share 2 brief slides.
Vice Chancellor Corner, real quick. Some people I think there was a message, Sui, is there a possibility you could resend the poll? I think some people wanted it to be reset, so I apologize for that. Go ahead, Vice Chancellor.
Of course. We presented this at our board meeting this last month to really highlight the importance of where we are going. There's very little data that actually speaks to the communities that are fully monolingual in languages other than English, and I think that's telling about the gaps that we have in servicing these communities. But we do have some proxies. What we know is that 2.2 million people in Los Angeles speak English less than well, which comes from our American Community Surveys, which does estimates of populations in between census. The most common languages of those that say they speak English less than well are Spanish, Chinese, Korean, Armenian, and Tagalog. We also looked at some reports that were done by the Asian Pacific American Legal Center, which reported that there are 1.8 million individuals who are of working age with limited English proficiency. These are some of the areas in which we can definitely delve into to support individuals as they look for upward mobility and additional skills and knowledge sets. They also recommended in that report some concrete areas in which we could improve as communities. Those include additional data collection and disaggregation so that we better understand the populations that we're seeking to serve. And I think that's a beginning point for what we are doing here. Increased interpretation services in health and social service areas, and support for opportunities to learn English. Internally, we have many current opportunities that look towards individuals who may have limited English proficiency. Those include our non-credit and credit ESL programs, which focus more on language acquisition. We also have GED preparation, some of which does include native language instruction. We have vocational ESL in some of our programs, which integrates skill development and language essential to employment with traditional English language development. We have our integrated education and training programs, which I know some of our adult ed deans are here today and will be able to speak to some of the new curriculum that they've developed. And then we have our ALAS program at Trade, which is a program that looks to use native language instruction partnered with English proficiency efforts in particular areas around the trades and construction. And later on around 12:30, we'll have Bill Ellerton join, who can speak a little bit more to that. Most of these are partnered with classes in English so that it can rise the proficiency of language at the same point that it's addressing these skill gaps. Based on that, we really decided to transition to this ad hoc model, as the Chancellor said, to find opportunities in an urgent and time-sensitive fashion to make recommendations for how we can most appropriately serve these communities, which represent almost a quarter of what we see in Los Angeles. Trustee Buelna.
Okay, thank you very much. So we wanted to, so we invited some folks today. Again, we're trying to keep everything as brief as possible in order to have some interaction. So Dolores Gallegos, Dolores, you're there, right?
Yes, I'm here.
So Dolores, Professor Gallegos, could you give us, I do like your background, by the way. Could you give us a sense of what is your position within LACCD? What are your observations about the subject matter within LACCD, and what are your thoughts on our trajectory and recommendations? All within a few minutes.
Right, within the 2-minute span. So, hello, my friends. I'm Doctora Dolores Gallegos. I'm Child Development at West LA. And I kind of have a good little spiel that I can wrap it up for you. Because honestly, we've been trying to see how we can increase our enrollment anyway. So this was a perfect way and how we can serve so many of our students. So one of the things that we noticed that during the distribution of our HERF money, sadly, West LA, we've always been doing online classes, and sadly that innovation became our punishment. So we didn't receive all the funding that our sister colleges did, which created an equity and opportunity gap. So we know that part of our enrollment issue, we looked into the child development district discipline, and we already have sister colleges that are doing that. They have their classes in Spanish, and I asked, and they said, actually, they are successful. I took it a step further, and I went to LAUSD adult schools, a coordinator, Cristina Hernandez, and she informed me that they have 300 students alone in child development that are taking their classes, and they're bilingual. So already there, we know that we have a group of people, participants that are actually wanting to partner with us if we had monolingual options. And so part of our thing is really, how do we use, and I bear in mind, when we're talking about inclusivity, it's truly how a person feels that they're being included, and diversity is always how they're being represented in the school, right? So when we're looking at that, we also look at our website. Our website isn't very user-friendly in the sense of it's not Spanish speaking. So if we had even that option to have it a Spanish version where they can fill out their application in Spanish, that would also help with our student enrollment. So those are kind of like our innovative opportunities that we're trying to get for our students, but that in a nutshell. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And what I heard from that is this is occurring. It's occurring in other places. There is enrollment occurring. Communities are being helped. But the other thing I think what I heard is that as a district, we may need to have a full out discussion on our multilingual policy overall with regard to our websites, our materials, and how we interact with the public, and have that conversation as a district. Am I correct?
Correct, yes.
Thank you. President Alberto Roman, East Los Angeles College.
Thank you, President Buena. Just a little bit of also some of the experiences we've had in programs at East Los Angeles College. As you know, we serve monolingual and non-English speaking communities within Southeast Los Angeles and the main service area of East LA. For example, in the Southeast Los Angeles area, we have about 43% of first-generation immigrants, and about 29% are non-citizens. So we've been working and focusing a lot on developing these programs. One of our most successful programs to date is, of course, our CDC program that is offered in the Consulado de Mexico. We've now had hundreds of participants, fully in Spanish program that is sequenced to complete and has been very successful. But we also have other courses that we offer: first aid, CPR, intro to computers, business, intro to health careers, are classes that we have in Spanish. In addition to that, similar to the trade tech model, we are developing a program called Atlas, which is Avanzando Todo Los Angeles. This is a program that will be intended to align with college guided pathways and promise programs requirements. So we'll be including high school, workforce, and pre-English and ESL. It will also be the mechanism to ensure that our adult immigrant learners are AB 540 eligible, given the expanded reach. So there is a need, absolutely. We have communities in Alhambra and other areas as well that certainly would benefit from more programs in non-English to serve our population better. But we are proud of the work that's been done, and certainly has been, I could tell you from the experience we've had with these courses, are well attended. courses, and the students that we serve tend to stay throughout the entire program. So we have strong retention, strong success rate, and certainly the need is there for us to expand more into these monolingual communities. So it's a good start, but certainly not where we want to be, and the opportunity is there for us to expand even further. So just want to share some of the stuff that's happening here at ELEC.
Thank you very much. And there was a comment on here that, you know, with regard to, you know, to certifications. And by the way, this everything is being recorded, so we want your comments, right? We you know, with regard to, you know, folks needing to be certified, you know, and before. So thank you very much. So next, I'm going to go to Jocelyn Duarte. Jocelyn, are you on?
Yes, I am. I'm right here.
Okay, so Jocelyn Duarte is a adjunct faculty on several of our colleges, also the head of the Salvadoran Leadership and Education Fund. And in preparing for this meeting, you know, I had a conversation with Ms. Duarte about some of the challenges and so that she's seeing with regard to educating monolingual non-English communities. And what that means. Then after that, I'm going to ask the District Academic Senate President Angela Echeverri to make some comments about AB 705 and potentially any issues about intersectionality with language issues after Ms. Duarte. So Ms. Duarte.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be here and share space with everyone. I just wanted to, you know, quickly, as in my other capacity as an executive director of a community-based organization and an educational fund, one of the things is creating access for our communities. I work in everything that has to do in the central LA area, which is Pico Union, Westlake area. And in these areas, we have a lot of Central American, Mexican Americans, a lot of indigenous communities. Both from Guatemala and Mexico. And so you see a lot of barriers to even accessing resources in Spanish. And one of the things that I was sharing with Trustee Buelna is that through our course that we provide here at Salif from our non-credit department at East LA is our citizenship classes, our naturalization classes. And one of the things that I think is such a big opportunity is to be able to have these classes for these language exempt participants. So I've been doing this for years where I provide the courses myself. I do everything and translate everything. And so I think it's just such a big opportunity because there are not LAUSD and no other institutions that I'm aware of provide these courses in Spanish. In this case, it's in Spanish for us because that's the language that we mostly, the community that we mostly work with. So I think there's just a plethora of opportunities to expand, and something that we've been working on with Dean Urdiales over at East, and before with former Vice President Ornelas, was that we were looking at how to expand those courses into then child development and certificate programs, and how we are trying to do that now with the Salvadoran consulate, mirroring the projects that they have and the work that's being done at the Mexican consulate, where we're offering these courses in Spanish. Right. And so we are actually going to explore some of those in those initiatives soon. So definitely working on how to create access, and it's about equitable access. And I think that looking at how to work with community-based organizations is definitely important, as there might be barriers to being on campus. And so if you have that lens, you're able to really on the ground be able to make direct impact with communities that have barriers, right, to English.
Ms. Duarte, you know, and if I only focus on enrollment, remember, I'm board president, so that's one of the things that it's a duty, right? And I don't want, just when I use the word enrollment, to think that it's not important simply for the focus on education, but I'm just going to use that lens for this particular moment. Do you see us doing more in language for monolithic non-English communities as important to our enrollment?
I definitely think it's important for enrollment, but I also think it goes further than that. right? Because the impact in our mission and the work that we're doing is to create access to education. So we can definitely, obviously, make sure that we are enrolling more students, that we're broadening our base, right, on who we are targeting, and giving access to. So yes, if you're talking about numbers, yes, I think it's going to open up, like imagine how that at my organization, we offer every semester, we offer a class and we have 20 to 30 students, right? Every semester, right? And, one of the things that I do is that I allocate a lot of my outreach and educational resources to be able to go out and bring people in. So I think that if we had dedicated resources to be able to do this, that we would definitely see an impact, an influx, an increase in enrollment at our campuses.
Thank you very much. And as part of, for those, we have 71 folks who have joined us. And again, the purpose of today's ad hoc committee were with myself, Trustee Henderson, Trustee Vettis, who isn't on board yet, and Chancellor Rodriguez, is that to obtain input, feedback from all constituencies. So I'm going to go right now to the president of the District Academics Senate. And specifically, we're challenged with AB 7005 and any potential intersectionality. And after that, I'm going to go to Mr. Jorge Peña Mar from the School of Economics and Business at the Pan American University in Mexico. Then Javier Martinez to get a sense of what does technical skill development, as some universities throughout Latin America are looking to actually expand into the United States, in terms of education and looking at that conversation and what that means. So President Echeverri.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. And first of all, I want to thank President Buelna for allowing me to speak on this topic that is very near and dear to my heart. Both my father and my husband were monolingual Spanish speakers who immigrated to the United States and benefited from community college instruction and from being able to learn the English language. So this is very personal for me. In the chat, I dropped a link to a study that was done by the LAUSD, a recent study on learning loss and the impact, the disproportionate impact on English learners. And I think we really need to keep that in mind when we are looking toward the future. Since the implementation of AB 705 in the fall of 2019, the elimination of most pre-transfer level English courses in the LACCD is hurting and disenfranchising English learners. So I definitely think that there is intersectionality here, and I have been very vocal about this. And I feel that we are unnecessarily not only hurting our enrollment, but also hurting thousands of students. So I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to this because while I think many people behind AB 705 are well-intentioned, I think a lot of harm is being done, especially to English learners. So I encourage you to look at the LAUSD study that I dropped in the chat because it does really paint a very stark picture of what's happening to English learners. And it's no surprise to me that our enrollment has been hurt significantly in the last 3 years or so. So thank you for allowing me to talk about this.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to ask Jorge Enriquez Perez Mar. Mr. Perez Mar, are you on the Zoom?
Thank you for the invitation, Gabriel. Here I am with Jorge Perez Mar. I am Mario Cabora from Universidad Panamericana, Campus Aguascalientes. Jorge Perez Mar is the director of Economic Science School of Universidad Panamericana. We are working in an innovation program here in Mexico. They are called NanoMaster programs. NanoMaster are short courses of 6-8 months that we developed at the Universidad Panamericana. Our mission is to open the doors to a prestigious university in Mexico to anyone, anywhere, anytime. We also work with massive online open courses. They are 100% online. We use some methodologies such as microlearning and gamification. We want to break barriers such as economic barriers with courses that are not expensive and don't require a degree. we think micro degrees are the future of education. And we can help you to create courses to help Hispanic communities to get the skills that they need to develop their career, and also to gain confidence and feel part of their environment.
Thank you very much. Mr. Perez-Mar, what is the reaction that you are getting from monolingual, I keep saying monolithic, from monolingual, and just to be clear, we've invited, this conversation is not about the use of the Spanish language. This is also and we've invited folks from different communities, because this is, notice we are not saying Spanish speaking ELL. We could be looking at indigenous languages. We could be looking at Mandarin, Tagalog, just like Vice Chancellor Corner said. I think other than Spanish, Mandarin, and from different countries, the whole point is that anyone who is monolithic and non-English speaking, how do we help? But Mr. Jorge, can you tell us what the reaction has been? So it seems as though you made a concerted effort at skill development from Aguascalientes reaching into the United States. So in your opinion, are we potentially not doing something in the United States that you see now as an opportunity?
Well, we think that we need to develop some skills to help them gain some confidence, and before they can reach some skills in English. Maybe we need to teach them with some courses, give them some skills to help them gain confidence and feel part of the environment. I don't know if I answered your question, Dr.
What is the reaction from folks here in the United States from the population? Are people reacting? Are they enrolling? What's the feedback that you're getting?
Well, we have talked with some people in the United States that are Hispanic, and they tell us that it's hard. It's hard that they come to a new world, a new language, and so we need that. We have to take some steps to help them to reach to get their confidence, to feel part of the new community that they come.
Thank you. And this is obviously a fee for service. So they are on their own paying the Universidad Panamericana for the additional service.
Right.
Okay. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you taking the time. Javier Martinez, is Javier on?
Yes, Gabriel, I'm here.
Okay, so Javier Martinez is a political science, Oxford University, lives here in Los Angeles, is not promoting alcohol in the back over there, but it's just present in your screen. Javier is part of the Asociación de Empresarios Mexicanos. Javier, I know there's been with regard to language and education, it's also part of a multifaceted discussion with regard to trade. Could you tell us about some of that conversation that's occurring to trade and the importance of skill development among immigrants in the United States?
Absolutely. I think, as you mentioned, I represent the Association of Mexican Entrepreneurs here in Los Angeles, an organization that covers 12 different capitals in different parts of the United States. And it has been a preoccupation among our members. You know, why do we have to wait until our people get the full skills in English to learn about accounting or marketing or digital marketing or any other operations of any company? So we know that there is a need for these young people to get into learning all these skills before they master the English. So it has been our preoccupation, and we have reached out to several institutions in Mexico and Mexico City and other parts of the country as well.
Give me like a choice, the pool.
If you could, user Osmanian, if you could, oh, thank you. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Martinez.
So that has been our preoccupation and our effort to find out these connections between institutions that can offer training for our people in the skills that I have mentioned, that I just mentioned. And so when you invited us and when you told me about this opportunity, I thought it was be very, very, very convenient for our community, because we know that our employees are willing to continue increasing their education, but they don't have any options other than going back to outside of the United States. So, and this is also part of the task force that has been created between the three countries, Mexico, Canada, and the US, under the new USMCA to try to develop these workforce development skills for our people, given that, you know, the three economies are increasingly more integrated. We need really people with skills to be able to compete and create the most powerful economic bloc in the world.
Okay, so the community colleges should be part of the conversation about increasing skill level if we're going to remain competitive even as a region.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Dulce Vasquez, Dulce, are you on? Dulce Vasquez, I think she's on.
Dulce, you're off mute, but we are not hearing you.
Hey, there you go.
So Dulce Vasquez is here while she's a candidate for LA City Council and prolific in TikTok, but she's also works for Arizona State University. And I asked her to just give us some thoughts with regard to what, you know, so we heard from one institution and what they're doing in Mexico, and what are some other partnerships that are occurring to bring folks who are non-English speaking into education. Dulce?
Absolutely. So thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Way to call me out like that. Dulce Vasquez, Director of Strategic Partnerships at Arizona State University. We recently opened a building in downtown Los Angeles on 11th and Broadway. We had all of the presidents of the community colleges, thanks to Dr. Rodriguez for bringing them to us. And we're doing so many different activities, but I think what's most relevant here is, you know, our charter states that we seek to serve the communities that we're in. And we're in Los Angeles, and we know how many non-native speakers there are here. So a brief little tidbit, we've got so many language learning opportunities that are digital and asynchronous. So they are tools that we can use to partner with our local community colleges to use some of that content. But second to that, something that's not been thoroughly announced yet, but we're in the process of, part of our building is unoccupied, and we are working with the University of Guadalajara to move into that space. And one of our top priorities is how we reach English language learners, particularly around these issues that there are so many tools and so many jobs out there that could be done without the knowledge, but also we need to bring up the knowledge. So I'm gonna drop my contact info, my work contact info in the chat. So please, you know, I'm excited to be a part of this and to continue the conversation here, but we are here as a resource and also as an eager partner.
So if in your opinion, and you know, for the audience, you know, I represent LACCD, you know, so, you know, we're bringing in some partners who are not LACCD, but in your view, what should LACCD be doing with regard to English language learners and folks who are either newly arrived or having issues with language in order for skill development? What's your thought?
So lots of resources and breaking down the barriers, right? We provide, all of these entry points and also cost prohibitiveness. And I think that digital tools can help with that, where you can scale infinitely, but then you have to make sure that you are following up with actually completing those, right? So it's not just useful to have the tools, but for us right now, we have a full hybrid program where we make sure our students who are doing online learning also have the coaches and the support to make sure that they're doing the work.
Okay, thank you. And for those, after a few more speakers, we're going to get into the legal analysis. So as a Los Angeles Community College District, you know, we do have access to legal analysis, and we have hired a law firm to do an updated brief to us on the any legal frameworks or any issues of how we might deal, because we're still dealing with Proposition 227, which is English only. So as we're dealing with the public policy issues, how do we deal with that from state policy perspective and a federal policy perspective, and then either the next one or the following might have that analysis, but we are working on it. But I'll get to that in a second. Thank you, Dulce. Next, I'm going to ask Laura Perez. Laura Perez, if you can go ahead.
Sorry, I was cutting out in and out. Can you repeat what?
No, I would call. We just wanted you. I know you wanted to go ahead and speak, and I wanted to make sure you had that space.
Oh no, I didn't say
anything about just some of the programs you've developed in.
Oh, I'm sorry, at Southwest. Yeah, so some of the programs that we have at Southwest, is the IET program. So what we're working on currently right now is like one of our very popular programs we have is the construction program. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to create what's called an integrated educational training program, where we get the construction program with a contextualized ESL program so that they can be taking the construction class in tandem with this ESL class together along with the workforce prep class, so that they're able to compete for those jobs while they're still getting the language acquisition at the same time. And also we understand that a lot of our community members are their own private contractors and stuff like that. So we're also helping them with the other aspects of the class. So that's one of the many programs that we're starting. We're starting with the construction. Our goal is to start it hopefully by the end of the summer. And that's one example. Another program that we've done in the past is with child development. And we're also looking at the allied health, since that's also a popular program as well, to do the IET programs. And this is all being supported through our WIOA grant that we work with in the adult education programs. And yeah, that's one of the things that we do.
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
What, in your opinion, what should LACC do as a district? What direction, in your opinion, should we move, or any policy changes should we look at that would make what you're doing more successful?
That's an excellent question. I think personally, one of the things that we should do is, you know, the goal of IET program, and one of the things that's been very hard for us, at least in the adult ed deans, is the way we do it is we do 2 separate classes. It would be great if we could have the opportunity to have the ESL teacher in the CTE class programmed at the same time, because sometimes it comes up, like let's say a tool comes up and they're not sure. It would be great if we could have the ESL teacher there at the same time to be able to jump in and help, but it's been hard to schedule 2 classes at the same time for those students to be enrolled at the same time. So that's one thing maybe we could work on.
Okay, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Bill Ellerton from LA Trade Tech. Mr. Ellerton.
Hello, I apologize for being late to the meeting. I wanted to be on time, but I was at a candidates forum for running for re-election for the Guild. So now I'm here to give my input, I guess.
You guessed right, sir.
So I'll go with what I heard just moments ago of what you could do to help us. I just want to give a little feedback. Trade Tech's been deeply involved in this activities. I believe I saw her in here too, Leticia Barajas, when she was Dean and VP. We've had programs in our construction. The area that I run at Trade Tech is the construction, maintenance, and utilities department. We have the plumbers and the electricians and all those folks. And for well over 15 years, we have been running these types of programs. And probably one of the best ones that we ran was titled under the category of ALAS. And I believe that, my Spanish is not great, but I believe that's wings. And it was really tailored around, I guess it was the 540 students that were, and a certain group, and they were coming to classes. And then this involved their parents being able to attend classes under the non-credit arena. And we were able to hold the class specifically in this case, it was Spanish, in that language. And and similar to just the speaker just a minute ago, we've had other classes that were credit-based that had embedded, ESL learning and the contextualized math and English to be part of it. The issue that always came up for those programs was when we had grant money to fund it, we could get assistance in the class and translation services and, an additional person to help, TAs, things like that. But as soon as the grant money ran out, there was no longer any support for the program, and it would just go away. So over my 30 years, we've built this program 4 times and watched it come and go. ALAS so far is the only one that continues to operate successfully. And we have a class going right now, and their parents take the class and other folks take the class, and it's improvement from the day labor workforce all the way up through the ones that are running their own construction companies, focused on safety and those kinds of things. If we could figure out a way to man that, especially the resources for translation, languages other than English, our code books and our rules aren't translated commonly. So we need help with that. We need help with the technology at the time. And there needs to be a bit more support in the classroom so faculty can actually do it and honestly just stop the roller coaster. Let's embed it, make it real, and make it go on.
Mr. Ellerton, you've been at the district for how many years?
34.
34. Oh, our lucky number, Fernando Valenzuela, 34. I'll just give you that there. So with regard to your experience, you have ASU saying that that they're developing programs at the University of Guadalajara. Do we need partnerships with potentially, as I'm hearing, with either coursework material? I mean, countries in Latin America have developed a lot of this. Do we need any partnerships, for your section that might be helpful to you? I'm just thinking out loud, outside of the box.
Personally, I would love to have those in some kind, even and maybe an exchange, because one of the biggest problems that I have in my area is the depth of our faculty bench. We're not, not to besmirch anybody, but it's very difficult to get a carpenter or a plumber or an electrician to come into an hourly job during the day for our students. So we tend to need, full-time folks. And they're fully loaded. So we don't have a lot of flexibility. And if someone goes out, I don't even have subs. It's just such a unique kind of MQ. And so having an extra resource would be helpful. We've done it with partnerships with, China one time. We did it with the Japanese students, and the class was actually taught in Japanese here, learning our codes. So over the years, we've done this program. Generally, it was always done with Perkins funding under special or Title V grants that would last about 5 years. And we would build it, it would run fantastic, and then the money would go away and it would collapse again. We have had partnerships with the Saudi Arabians. We have partnerships with Australia and New Zealand. It needs administration that wants it and wants to support it. It needs faculty that are involvement from the ground up. And these partnerships, I think, would be fantastic to help that bench expand and give us some more flexibility.
So with regard to the discussion of enrollment, right? The discussion, language, monolingual ELL communities, I should probably couple those, haven't really been part of the discussion about enrollment. If we as a district if we either invested more, the research and dealt with this issue, how much of a part of the enrollment discussion is this issue in your opinion?
I know that during my tenure here, as we went from like PE classes and their ability to have lots and lots of students to a period where they virtually were decimated in enrollments, we were able, with the support of our dean and then eventually the vice president, we're able to outreach to the high schools and their parents, and we were able to grow the numbers to offset it. So there's evidence over the years that it can be a big boon to our enrollment. And it wasn't, I mean, there was a fear at the time that it would, especially since we did most of it as non-credit, there was this fear that it was somehow going to eat into our credit programs. It just didn't happen. I mean, the evidence is clear that it increased our credit programs, as well as the funding that came once they enhanced the non-credit funding for job funding. It became an equal funding source. So over the years, it's gotten better and more productive. And I think there's a huge opportunity that we're just not addressing.
Thank you very much. Next, can I call Ms. Morin? Pilar, are you on?
Yes, good afternoon.
Okay. So, so Pilar, you're one of our attorneys at LACCD, and I won't ask you anything that's privileged. But in the development of the analysis that's going on this issue, is there anything that you might want to ask the participants, and we have 79 participants right now, that might be helpful to you and the team in the analysis?
I have seen some of the, I was able to see some of the notes that were provided by the chancellor, some of the data. And I think that that is very helpful as we start getting data from the district.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So our legal analysis, you know, likely in terms of a memo, will be forthcoming, and the memo that is still from 2006 is still a little outdated. Reina Valadez, can you please come on?
Hi, I'm here.
Hi, Reina, how are you doing?
Good.
I think you asked a question on the chat, and this is about everyone giving us that input, and we're recording this, you know, to be helpful. And you mentioned something in the chat right now about asking about what the research is showing in order to be helpful right now. Can you expand on that a little?
Yeah, I'm thinking, you know, as you ask the question, what can we do? What have we done as a district, as a community, as people? We have to look back at our roots, right? Where we are. I'm an immigrant, even though I'm now a citizen. I wasn't born in this country. Language has been a barrier for me all of my life, even to this point. And as a college graduate, you know, still dealing with a lot of those issues. My mother, who has been here for 40 something years, still doesn't speak English. So, you know, there's so many social determinants of health factors that we have to start looking at as we want to tackle a language barrier, or we want to tackle certain areas. We have to go back to what is happening in our community. What has changed? What hasn't changed? Why hasn't it changed? So just looking at all of these social determinants of health factors that can really help us tone in and make differences. You know, we're still in poverty. We're still serving communities in poverty. We're still serving individuals who are minorities. And so there's a lot of issues still out there that I think they're addressed, but they're not always eliminated.
Okay. And Reina, you teach at ELAC, correct?
I am. I'm a faculty for East LA College, but I also work for AltaMed. And so we're also looking at, you know, factors on language barriers as we still see children coming in to try to translate for their parents. We've had to develop systems and tools to now prevent that from happening, where we make the patient really the advocate for themselves and have the ability for them to really interpret what is being said at their clinic visits through all this technology. So even using technology as a way to eliminate a barrier, a language barrier.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Valadez. So what are some next steps? Then I'm going to, we'll probably keep it open for about 10 minutes to make sure that people put their comments on the record. You can either turn on your video, not turn. It's really up to you. But we want to know from folks, what is your opinion? You are speaking directly to district leadership. The presidents of the colleges are on. This is being recorded, so there isn't more on the record than what we're doing here. We want to know what your opinion is on next steps that we should do. What do folks want to see as those next steps as we complete our legal analysis, conversations with the academic senate, and conversations with our presidents and our faculty as well. So, you know, I want to make sure that folks have that space in order to do that, and know that this recording will be on the district's YouTube channel as a reference for us to go back to, and potentially conversations that even occur with media, not just with constituents, but with media as well, as this issue moves forward, and not just within our community colleges, but within the four-year colleges and other doctoral programs as well, along with county and city services and federal services as well. So as we end this, I'm asking folks and making sure that space is available for that context, and that the board and senior management presidents can hear it. So and I'm going to start off with Angelita Romero, Ms. Romero, then we're going to go to Bill Ellerton, who has even more he would like to say. So Angelita. Ms. Romero. Okay, Bill.
Were you by case calling Angelica Ramirez?
I wasn't, but do you have anything that you would like to say, Ms. Ramirez?
Hi, no, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Angelica Ramirez, Dean of Adult Education here at LA City College. I apologize, I got a text saying, hey, they're calling you. So here at LA City College, we work to develop a number of pathways in the IET model, the Integrated Education and Training model that Dean Perez previously mentioned. And I think this is a very pertinent discussion to have related to how are we addressing the needs and supporting students with limited English access career trainings and employability skills. Here at LA City College, we've developed IT trainings in hospitality, in home supportive services and other allied health, as well as entrepreneurship. But the point I think it's other speakers have made that I think is very relevant is supporting students from intake and recruitment through completion, as well as I think partnerships are very key to ensure that our students are being placed into employment, as well as, and braiding in funding. Bill Ellerton mentioned about the availability of previous fundings. There is a strong interest right now at the state and federal level in integrated immigrants through civics education. So I think that's something that our district needs to put a higher emphasis in throughout the curriculum, so that our students that are limited English can not only be able to access the training, but be successful in their job placement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, for those, you know, we're going to take the next 10, 15 minutes to, if we have missed something, and if you think we've missed something that you think it's important with regard to this discussion, please speak up. We are literally inviting you. Mr. Ellerton, you're next.
Like I wouldn't have something else to say. I just want to make sure that we don't reinvent the wheel. There's been some really great programs, and while I would prefer that we support it long-term, I'm not opposed to utilizing and leveraging any kinds of funds to make it work. And I think there's a huge difference between doing nothing and what I could perceive as being like the gold standard program. And sometimes I think we get in this cycle of trying to build to perfection, and we stall ourselves and we go nowhere. Anything is better than doing nothing. And the farther we can push the envelope, the more success we have with students. And I have to tell you, I love my job as a teacher. And when these students have now, from 10 years ago, are coming back and, you know, saying, you know, they're married, they bought a house, they've done this, and it started with one of these types of programs. I just get goosebumps when I think about it. And I hope that we can continue that and build and share around the district and work together to make it as available as we can to all the groups that need it.
Thank you very much. And let me remind everyone to complete the poll. It's very, very important. You know, those who complete polls get their voices heard. Ms. Barajas, and please raise your hand if you would like to be called on. I've gone through all the speakers that we've agendized. So if you could just go ahead and raise your hand. Ms. Barajas, then Ms. Marin after that.
Thank you. So I just wanted to make sure that we didn't lose track of, you know, there are a variety of programs and there's a variety of strategies. And I think in the end, there are a number of non-credit and credit faculty here who have a real big belief in this. But I would be remiss if we didn't really think about the student journey. So if we are serious about serving this population, many times they want to go to our campuses for in-person assistance. They want to get that. So I'm not even sure to what extent every campus or every site has that opportunity. Some, like Southwest, that's been mentioned, do a great job. And I know trade as well, but it's just something to think about. Also, when systems come down, like for instance, this past semester, not necessarily I think the district's fault, but our non-credit application was down for a significant number of days and critical periods. That means, you know, the non-credit students lose access to getting into college. And there's nothing more disappointing than when a participant or a member of the community wants to access and then they don't get a response. So going back and really rethinking how quickly are those non-credit applications being processed district-wide? You know, what are those barriers? I mean, we have a huge population already at our colleges, and maybe some district-led focus groups can kind of get into this so that problems can be solved at the district level and just to really help out. And someone else mentioned it on the chat, but really wanted to let everyone know, how do people access information even on our website? And, you know, maybe somebody goes to the district website. I'm not sure if there's something there. I haven't seen anything from a landing page in other languages. So we can talk about curriculum development. We can talk about strategies and very specific programs like SEDAI or IET and others, but getting them in has been historically an issue for us.
Thank you very much. Ms. Barajas, what I heard, well, there's a lot of things that I heard, but that it wouldn't be a bad idea to do a district-wide survey, including polling, simply on this issue, to flush it out and to see what exactly the need, you know, the needs are. Did I hear that?
What are the barriers? How did they get there? And then also asking our existing students, you know, what are your friends like? What will it take to help others from the community? What are some perceptions? And then we actually not just do it, but actually do something about the data that we actually are collecting. So just wanted to mention. Thank you.
Right. And I'll add before we go to Lynette Martin, then we'll go to President Ornelas. And that was the point of bringing some of the partners in, is that we may not need to reinvent the wheel in terms of partnerships with folks throughout Latin America that have some excellent educational systems. So Ms. Martin, then President Ornelas.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to chime in and add, as an academic administrator with the Community College District, I wear one hat, but also I serve on the City of LA Workforce Development Board, and several of the speakers have pointed to a conversation that I just wrapped up in our Workforce Development Board meeting earlier today, which is the intersection between serving our monolingual, non-English speakers in a language that makes sense to them, but also getting them prepared to enter you know, the workforce in spaces that are high wage income types of workforces, high opportunity spaces, and working with our community partners. So I just want to say that I appreciate the partners that have come today to speak to, you know, how we can develop a stronger system and infrastructure within the spaces within Los Angeles, but also leveraging our network with the City of LA workforce. I think if we're going to advocate for policy change, and I appreciate that there is data analysis provided and there's legal analysis provided, and those are things we're collecting as well on the workforce side, that if we connect our forces together, we are better able to collectively request and move forward different policy changes. So I just want to make sure that the LACCD board is aware that the City of LA Workforce Board is also having the same conversation just hours ago, and really is a partner and at the table to do whatever we can, not only to leverage our resources, but also to move forward and push agendas at the policy front that will help all of our constituency groups. So thank you for the time, and thank you for having this meeting, very timely.
Thank you. Sui and Narcissa, some folks aren't seeing the poll. Could we get some instruction? Because I think a lot of people want to do the poll.
At the bottom of the screen, there's 3 dots and it says more. If you click on there, then you'll see the poll option.
I don't have that option.
Yeah, there's some folks that don't. Is there a way to link it into the yes, some people don't see it, Sui? Any way to, well, if you
whoever
could
the host is needs to publish the poll.
I think that's what Mr. Allerton is saying. See what we're anyway, Sui. Okay, all right, Sui. So just be patient, folks. We do need your feedback. I'm saying the same thing you're seeing, but Sui's the greatest person on the planet. So
yeah, for some people, it's not at the bottom. It's at the top right or the left. So you got to kind of, depending whether you're using an iPad or a phone or a laptop, it'll be located. So look for more, click in there, and you'll see poll. And if you click, it'll take you in. So we're going to keep it open until we get everybody. Thank you.
The other thing is,
maybe if you could relaunch it, because if you entered at a different time, you might not have access to it.
Okay. Can do that.
President Ornelas, then Michelle Segura, then non-credit staff.
Thank you, President Buelna. First of all, I really appreciate that you've opened up the dialogue and we're talking about this, because several of us have been talking about this at the college level for a number of years, and we've recognized the significant role that adult ed has in not only serving the community, but improving retention and increasing enrollment. And this is an opportunity for all of us to actually come together and have a systemic effort on how to serve non-English speakers. And you know, there are many opportunities, as you're seeing in the chat, but this is, again, our opportunity to really not only take inventory of what we're doing, but launch us into this next phase. And, you know, adult ed is at different phases at the different colleges. But if we can use this platform to truly prioritize the role adult ed has, and, you know, and invest in our adult ed population, that would be amazing. You know, and it ranges and the needs range. And I'll give you a couple of examples. You know, we've recently started working with a nonprofit in Pacoima, Plaza Comunitaria de Sinaloa, that serves illiterate folks who can't, you know, read or write in their native language. So when we talk about socioeconomic mobility, we're really talking about going out and, you know, giving our communities the tools they need, like language. And, you know, our faculty, I see Professor Jacob Skalkin on the line, you know, working on his curriculum for, you know, to pursue careers in STEM for our ESL populations. These are important conversations that we need to have. We've been having them for a number of years. And I think we've got the infrastructure in place, but I'm hoping this platform really helps us prioritize how we can best serve our non-English speakers. And I think it's important that it recognizes the work that we're doing in adult ed, because adult ed allows us to offer free instruction. And sometimes inherent in the communities we serve, in particular, who don't speak English, we have to be considerate of we don't want them to go through a lengthy financial aid application. There are issues of citizenship, there are issues of our communities being undocumented, and adult ed and free instruction gives us an avenue to be much more streamlined and flexible. So thank you for it. And I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and how I can support prioritizing this.
We'll move on in 1 second. I did a tour on behalf of the district with unaccompanied minors at the Pomona Fairgrounds. And one thing that I saw, there was a significant amount of the youth did not speak Spanish. They spoke indigenous languages. And in Los Angeles alone, there's 100,000 individuals who from Latin America who do not speak French, Portuguese, Spanish, but indigenous languages. And it's normally, something that is generally ignored in our communities. And I think, there are partners, Mexico is our partner. A lot of us have connections. And throughout Latin America who speak those languages. That books are written, and we have access to those resources, and there's no outreach to them here in Los Angeles as well. And I want to point that out as very important. Ms. Segura, then non-credit staff.
Hi, everyone. So I'm very happy to be in this space. I think we did some work that's very similar to this at the Dreamer Task Force, and I'm very grateful to see some of the similar leadership. And I think when I think about this, I'm also coming from the faculty lens. I teach GED Spanish courses for City on Saturdays, and now I'm taking on a new role at LA Harvard College as a consulting instructor for adult ed. And so as I come into this space, it's very important for us to consider the work that already has been done in the DRC space, because we've tied in a lot of resources for AB 540, SB 68. The new law that I'm really, really itching for us to tackle is SB 554. The easiest way I can explain it, it's mirroring the K through 12, but for adult ed, right? So I'm still learning about it, but it's my understanding if we have students that are in high school equivalency courses, they can take up to a part-time status in credit courses. And so this will be helping pipeline that streamlining of adult ed to our credit courses and getting them out into the workforce. Something else that we did at Trade was building the Entrepreneurship Project. And this certificate was amazing. We have a lot of interest in our community, right? Again, with immigration, with COVID the way it is, our students are very interested in building generational wealth. We have a lot of vocational programs. We have a lot of certificate programs in our adult ed courses. And I think tying in the entrepreneurship component, whether it's in Spanish, English, another language, I think that's also important for us to consider. So thank you for this. I hope that we have reoccurring meetings, very similar to the metrics that we use for the Dreamer Liaison Committee, so we can continue this dialogue. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Oh, let me be very clear with my intent. I intend to keep this issue all the way to the forefront until we're very clear and it's on a trajectory where it's sustainable and moving on its own. It's not going away. It's going to be a regular discussion. Non-credit staff. Non-credit staff, you have your hand up. Okay. I don't see any additional hands up. Non-credit staff, and I know Sui did put up the poll one more time. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see. Is Trustee Vettis on here? Trustee Vettis? No. Trustee Henderson, would you like to say anything in closing? Okay, I don't see. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, if I don't see any other hands on up, I think that will conclude this session. I do want to thank everyone for a discussion. We will stay here until as many people would like to make a comment or fill out the poll. I am going to report out at the board with regard to this discussion. And it was important that the chancellor is here, the president's here, district academic senate was here, our district attorneys are here with regard to the preparation of the memorandum. And I think you can tell our seriousness and commitment with the amount of attention and resources that we're putting to this discussion. So unless there's anything anyone else would like to say, we're adjourned. But feel free to stay, fill out the poll, or put any additional comments. We will read them and put them together when we're offline. Thank you, everyone, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sui, can I ask that we stop record while people finish the poll?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sui.